The True Sons. The Sons of Horus, the Sons of Chthoniya, a splinter warband of the Black Legion. These Marines were not really aligned with Abaddon's leadership after Horus's defeat and continued following the old ways. There's something about these murky seawater colored Marines that I personally really like. I think it stands out as a dark and somehow evil looking color scheme fitting the Chaos Space Marines without being just pure black. And seawater is the right term because I use dark sea blue as an undercoat. In my opinion, starting with a bluish undercoat is the perfect way to create this color scheme. At least I want it to be a little grimdarkish and worn down by time, so it fits into the 41st millennium. I like to apply the first undercoat with a normal brush, but an airbrush would work as well. When the base coat was dry, I went on with a 50-50 mix of dark sea blue and Sons of Horus green to have a dark mid-tone and give the color the right hue. At this point I want to welcome the newest Patreons, the Eldritch One and Jordi Cardona Ripes. Seriously, thanks a lot. This really means much to me and still feels a little bit strange to be honest, and I couldn't be more grateful for the support I get. If you also want to be a supporter, get access to my Discord server and help to create a cool community with nice people, you know where to go. But now back to the show. I used a more or less dry brushy-esque motion to avoid the recesses between the trim and the rest of the armor, as I want this to be a little bit darker and the highlights only be shown in the bigger surfaces. But now let's start highlighting it. I carefully stippled on some 50-50 mix of Sons of Horus and Ghost Green onto the areas that would lay in the natural light, like the chest area and also all the surfaces that face towards the outside. Adding a bit of elfic flesh can help making the armor look a bit warmer. Having darker tones more towards the inside of the miniature, like between the legs or under the arms, sells and amplifies a very natural looking effect of light and shadow. For the trim I use Pro Acryl's Bronze. I personally like this bronze or gold tone variant pretty much because it represents the dark gothic like metallics I want to have on my miniatures. Also it contrasts very well with the green in my opinion. My Stormcast or Jadecast Eternals have a very similar look. I will drop a tutorial about these two in some weeks, it's already recorded, but it needs some cutting. I just recently bought the rest of Pro Acryl Metallics range and tried them on the first miniatures, keeping my promises I made within the first month of being on YouTube. To be short, there will be a lot more chaos content as I want to go down this rabbit hole. What can I say? I just feel at home with golden trims. By the way, if you like content like this, feel free to leave a like or even better, a subscription. For the silvery parts I use Dark Silver by Pro Acryl. In my opinion, Pro Acryl's metallics are very well balanced with each other, creating a similar feel all over the range. When the metallics were dry, I carefully shaded them with Vallejo's Game Wash Black. This really darkens and dulls them down and ties them together with the rest of the armor. But now let's bring a nice complementary color into it. I painted his loincloth, the leathers and the skulls with burnt red. I tend to paint leathers in browns, and the mix of dark rust and burnt red is really appealing to me, as it is a color I somehow really enjoy and makes a miniature look somehow more alive. For the fabrics itself, I carefully added more and more red tones into it until I created this red-brown color. I still wanted the brownish color to be shown in the loincloth, so I focused on painting the edges and the more raised areas. Since the loincloth is already in this reddish-like color, I decided to make the eye of Horus itself on his little backpack rack here appear in a reddish glowing light emitting color as well. I wanted it to appear a little bit like OSL. So I carefully added more orangey tones like Wild Rider Red into it and painted some of this color mix onto the eyelid, so it appears to be glowing. Edge highlighting is key here, since the edges would catch the light the most and appear to be very bright because of this. Now I highlight the leathers and skulls with a mix of burnt red and elfic flesh. I still want these to look different, but within the same color range I used before. I used a sorted out brush for this, which is just good enough for randomizing work like this. The skulls got a little more attention and were brightened up to a point where it's more or less a pure elfic flesh. Since I already used a pure elfic flesh, I added some Wild Rider Red into the mix to make the glow effect appear a bit more realistic. I like to build myself up here with the colors, carefully going brighter the closer I get to the source of the light emitting, source. And for the skin I used my trusted recipe of purple, Bugman's Glow and elfic flesh. I just covered the entire face with dark purple and wet blend more and more Bugman's Glow into it. And once that's done, I redo the step but with Buckman's Glow and Elfic Flash. I used some watered down browns like dried bark or dark rust for this, as well as Vallejo's Game Wash Sepia. First I paint the browns into some of the recesses, and when that's dry I use the wash to stipple it onto a wider area. To highlight the trim I used Pro Acryl's light bronze. I used an older brush for this and just stipple it onto some of the areas that would have the most stress in my mind. And for the eggs and the other silver metallic parts, I used light silver. But with these last steps we are coming to an end here. I hope there were some useful informations in this one for you. If you enjoyed this, feel free to leave a like or a subscription, because we are getting very close to 1,500 subscribers, which is really crazy to me. Anyway, there's a lot more chaos content on the way with some conversions and kit bashes, but that's for later. Until then, we are going to see each other in the next one.